All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another evening with the Success Money Principles. My name is Angela White. And so we have come into the month of May. And every year in May, I do something very special because some very special things happen in the month of May. And so, of course, we know that in just a few days from today, we'll be celebrating Mother's Day. So, for all of the mothers out there, I want to wish you the best um, for Mother's Day. But the most important holiday that we'll be celebrating in May is my birthday. I mean, come on. I know. Nobody realized that important day was here, but it's coming. It's coming. And so we need to bring out all the bells and the whistles and all the confetti because that day is coming. But seriously, seriously, I wanted to come in and just take a little bit of time to, kind of go over some things that I do every year in my birth month, and maybe you can adopt these practices for yourself. Maybe a healthy habit that you can start for yourself. And so, we all know, most people at the end of the year, or maybe even at the top of the year, December, January time frame, people, look at their determine their goals for the year, assess, whatever it is that they want to do, money, whatever. Um, but I am a strong proponent in um, keeping up and staying knowledgeable in what's going on in the areas that I have set my goals in. Because if you don't pay attention to things, it's very easy for things to veer off track. It don't it just takes a little bit of veering off for you to, by the end of it, if you think about, if you're not tracking, and by the end of the year where you were trying to get here, you'll end up way over here somewhere. And it wasn't even anything big or drastic that happened in order to make that happen. It's just the little bitty things that you didn't pay attention to here, didn't pay attention to there, spent this $5 there, this there, and before you know it, it has blown into this big thing. So absolutely, I teach every month, and I put out the reminders to create your budget for the month. So we're definitely looking at that, excuse me, on a monthly basis. But there are some things that I feel like that also need to be looked at annually. And if in my case, I look at them a couple of times a year to make sure that things are in order, are up to date, and are in place. And I want to share a little bit of a story as to why I started doing this. And this is a very personal story for me, but I recall um, this was man, good 31 years ago. Yeah, my oldest son is 31, so this is a good, a little over 31 years ago when I lost my father. And of course, him being young like he was my father. Unfortunately, he was only 43 years old when he passed away. And so when he passed away at that time, of course, um, wills, you look for wills, you look for the insurance policies and things, to be able to make the arrangements for, my father to be laid to rest. And at that time, my father was not married. I was his oldest child. And so, it was on me, up to me, because I was the only one of my siblings that was of age to kind of make those decisions as to, how he was going to be laid to rest. But one of the things that really got me at that time, that again, there's 30 something years later, that has caused me to put some of these practices that I have in my life right now, is when it came time to do, the coverage or the payment for his funeral. The insurance policy, um, at the time of my dad's death, he had um, three girls and one boy. Um, but again, he was young, and I'm sure, when he put that policy in place, um, he thought that he was going to be here, and whatever the case may be, he wasn't checking it, he wasn't updating it, and so that policy was in the name of his ex-wife. And so the woman that he was scheduled to marry just a few days after he passed away, and the child that they had together, were not included in those death benefits. And so, unfortunately, she did not receive any of his royalties, of his, that he had to give, from his estate, from his life insurance policy. And so from that day forward, it really made me make sure that I, pay attention to things, pay attention to the documents and things in my life, to make sure that things are updated at all times, because we never know the day or the hour that God is going to call us home. You know, um, you could be doing all the right things, driving down the street, something happens. You don't have to be out there in the street doing something bad, none of that. You just never know. And so, although I'm not, advocating for, going and, checking these documents and things that we're going to talk about monthly, daily, anything like that, because again, even in the time frame that I'm talking about, things can happen in between there. But what I do want to encourage you is to, to make this a habit, make this a practice that you do on a routine basis, so that you're making sure that the will that you have and what you want to happen, for your legacy that is left behind you, actually is what you want, and not what the courts, dictate, or what somebody else, something that you wanted in the past and no longer want. And so for me, I take a couple of times a year where I kind of do a deep dive, and go through several different documents, to ensure that they are up to date. Anything needs to be re-signed, updated, funded, whatever the case may be. Any adjustments that need to be made, I do those a couple of times a year. And so one of those times is my birth month. And then, of course, at the end of the year, when we're crossing over into a new year. And so, over the next few weeks, for the remainder of this month, we got 4 weeks, 4 Thursdays left in this month, including today. We're going to be talking about some of the different documents that are some of the different things that I am going to be suggesting that you take a look at and ensure and make sure that they are, what you want, and you're on track with the goals that you have for yourself, and the legacy that you want to leave behind for your family. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about on a night is, let's do a reassessment of our goals. Let's take a look and see, for me in December, I set some goals for myself. And we know the statistics, People set goals at the beginning of the year, and by the second or third week of January, they already done stopped. They're not going to the gym anymore. They're not drinking the water like they were. All those different things. Because life happens, and that habit is not created, and so it kind of goes by the wayside. And so this just serves as another time for myself that if I do need to do some course corrections to get myself back on track, then this is the time, that I do it. So again, go and look at those goals that you wrote at the end of the year or the top of the year. Are you on track? We're almost at the halfway point of the year right now. Um, for me, with my assessment, when I do it in May and December, this is right at the halfway point. I'm halfway there. So, am I halfway to the goal that I've set for myself? And if I'm not, then guess what? I got to adjust that strategy that I have for myself. Because there's no failure in if you don't give up. So okay, we're not, if the goal was to save $10,000 for the year and we're not quite at that 5,000 right now, okay, then now when we got this last half of the year, now we need to adjust the strategy. If it was, a little under $1,000 a month that we had to save, maybe we might got to bump that up because we're trying to make up for what we haven't done in that first half of the year. And so we want to look at those goals. We want to reevaluate our why. Look at that. We want to keep that in the forefront of our minds. So, when we do kind of veer off course, veer off track with meeting the goals and stuff that we have for ourselves, then we want to remember that why and why we're doing the things that we're doing. Am I saving this money? Why am I, investing, in what I'm investing in? You know, why am I doing those things? And again, what is the goal? And why, what is it that I want to get to? And why is it important for me to do that? And so that's two things that we're going to look at. And so this week, before we get back together again on next week and talk about our next things, this week I want you to go back and reassess the goals that you set for yourself and to see if you're on track and if you need to do a reassessment of them. Okay. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to remember your why. And if you don't have it written down, I want you to write it down. I really want you to take the time. And if your goals aren't written down, I want you to take the time, sit down, and write out your goals. What does it say in the Bible? Habakkuk 2 and 2. Write the vision, make it plain. Okay? Because when you write it down, that just strengthens your ability to make it happen. Okay? So let's make sure that we got those goals written down. But even more importantly, is that we have our why written down. So that again, when we kind of waver from working towards the goals, are you working towards a health goal? And you're getting off track with what you need to be doing, the healthy eating, the exercise that you're supposed to be doing. Are you getting off track from doing those things because maybe you don't have a strong enough why, or you have one but you're not remembering it. You don't have it in front of you. Okay. So that's what I want you to do over this next week is I want you to assess those two things. And if a reset needs to happen, let's do it. Let's get that done over this next week. And then on next week, when we come back again together, we're going to look at some other things that I feel that bear some importance on evaluating and reassessing to see if they need to be updated or reset for the remainder of the year. Okay? So promise me that you're going to take the time to sit down. If you have not already, write your goals out. If you have your goals written out, reassess them. Is that still the goal that you have for yourself? And if you still have that goal that you want, okay, are you at the point where you should be right now? If not, then let's look at just doing a little bit of tweak, a little bit of calibration to how that strategy on how we're going to get there. Okay. And then the next thing I want you to do is to again to get that why, get a strong why as to why you want to reach those goals that you set for yourself. Okay. So remember, I want to see you back for the remainder of this month because we're celebrating Mother's Day on this coming weekend. So, again, happy Mother's Day for all of you that are mothers. But more importantly, in this month, we are celebrating my birthday at the end of the month. And so I wanted you to, go on this journey with me and just take a look and reassess some things for yourself. And let's make sure that we got all our everything in order so that the legacy that we have for ourselves, the things that we want to leave behind, that they're going exactly where we want them to go. All right. So, again, thank you very much for joining me tonight here at Successful Money Principles. And I look forward to seeing you on next week. Bye bye.